On the Wake Up Radio presents The Center with your host, DC Radical One.
Greetings, Black family, and welcome to On the Wake Up Radio. I am your host, DC Radical One, and you have entered the center. Shout out to our wonderful producer, Cindy Ashby. You can check us out on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and iHeartRadio at On the Wake Up Radio. More important than all of that, you can check us out at onthewakeupradio.com. That's onthewakeupradio.com. And also our social media platform, which is otwtube.com. That's otwtube.com. Let me know if y'all can hear me clear in here. I'm on my other computer, my secondary computer, if you will, which actually is my primary computer for some things. But as far as for loading up information, it's my secondary computer. BB for Hodier till you got ripped off. BB for Hodier, Straight Black Pride, Sister Vanessa. BB for Hodier, Straight Black Pride to Spirit, Mind, Character, Soul. Peace and Straight Black Pride to Brother Crow. And BB for Hodier to Brother Kevin Austin. That look like everybody that I see in the comments right now. Actually, it's a sister that asked me. She's like, "When you gonna do something? I haven't heard nothing from you. Where you been?" And I don't even see her in here, and I'm not sure whether or not I tagged her in the Instagram. So let me tag that sister, because if I do not, I will not hear the end of it. So what we're going to do today, while I'm trying to do this, we got a couple of things. My brother, you got ripped off, is asking for the donations. Please and thank you. We have a few things. Well, the main thing I want to do, I want to do a case study of this Ukraine Russia situation and show how the blowback from that is affecting Black people and how it will affect us in the future. So I got a lot of articles and a lot of videos to go through. And this is probably a part one of a two-part thing. It didn't start off as a part one, but if you know, sometimes you do something and you have it in your mind set a certain way, and then you start compiling the information, and suddenly you realize, oh, this is going to be longer than I thought. And I didn't want to try to cram too much information into one setting. I only want to be on here between 90 and 120 minutes. And I see we got trying to see if I can get some more people in here before I get started. I know the notifications go out slow. And when people aren't used to seeing you do stuff, you know, they tend not to pay attention. Also, brother, you got ripped off was putting some information out. We will have a paid advertisement coming up shortly. We got something special. Some of you all probably know, brother. I think, brother, you got ripped off. Or did he already give? Yep, he already gave it away. Brother, you got ripped off. Already gave it away. But yeah, you can look in the comment section and see that coming up. So let me, like I said, let me tag this sister real quick, and then I can actually get started with tonight's program. Also, I do currently still have a YouTube strike in effect for another month. And after tonight's program, we're going to have an additional strike coming sooner or later. I'm just telling you now. I already know it's coming. I'm not. It's not that I'm worried about it. It's just I'm trying to get some things done before the channel gets deleted. So I'm reinstating my reach 1,000 people or get deleted trying. That's the program we're on. Reach 1,000, get 1,000 subscribers or get deleted trying. We're up to 457 subscribers. So you got somebody else in your household that's not subscribed, get them subscribed. Let's get to 1,000 before before we get deleted. So if it's 5 of y'all in the house, and get 3 people subscribed. You know, get your cousin Dave. You know what I'm saying? I just want to see the subscriber count. I don't even care about the views because I know only a certain amount of people are going to show up for the views. And you know, I'm almost up to, you know, my Instagram actually keeps going up, which is pretty good. So I'm just trying to get some of that over here. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, brother, you got ripped off. Said just make sure the uploads are OTW. Oh yeah, no, this gets automatically downloaded, so we good. That this gets automatically downloaded. You know, this is one of those shows. Y'all know I've had these before where I had a show and literally I go to sleep and then somebody messages me like 3 a.m. Be like, hey, where'd the show go? And I'm like, what do you mean? And then you look up and it's not there. Yes, that has happened before, or it's blocked. You know, it has to be re-edited. And Brother Crow was like, Jeannie has a new book. Yes. Brother, you got ripped off says, don't forget to tune in Monday, 10 a.m. Sankofa Revolutionary Radio, the Kamanthi Lives program. In fact, I forgot. Let me put that. I'm glad you did that, brother. Let me put that up. Right. So that's every Monday at 10 a.m. Sankofa Revolutionary Radio, the Kamanthi Lives program with Brother Genie. I've been on there several times. We've been talking about black male female relationships, and I have a copy of one of those, but not all of them. And eventually they will go up because they're just audio. Eventually they'll go up on the channel. Hopefully this week, if I can get. I think I've been on 3 times, so hopefully this week I'll at least put the first one up, and then we can go from there. And so, since brother you got ripped off has already made the announcement, tomorrow brother Genie is unveiling something, but we have a paid advertisement, our first paid advertisement here on the center, and this has been provided to us for, it was Independence Day. For some people it's tomorrow, but this is a different type of Independence Day. So check out this paid advertisement from our brother Irritated Genie. So there you have it. That is the debut of the advertisement for the new book. The official book release will be tomorrow at 6 p.m. at the headquarters. And I'll just say this about the book. It's not a book in the this is a book for the 21st century. We've come up with the term interactive experience. And so, brother, you got ripped off says he just stopped reading at page 40 in the book. It's phenomenal. So and the reason I say it's interactive is because it has ways for you to go and not just read the book, but then it leads you to supplementary information and documentation, videos and websites and things like that to back up the assertions that are put in the book. I had a chance to preview it myself. Brother Genie is always thorough with his information. I would put him up against, the finest researchers in the world. Of course, it's going to be controversial, and it's definitely a conversation starter or a conversation ender. Because sometimes people will see that and they're like, "Oh no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there with that." So, thanks to our sponsor, our first sponsor, Brother Genie, and his very strong statement made with that book. I mean, it gets no stronger than that. That's all I'll say. And we'll see if the channel is still up tomorrow morning after that. So I wanted to get into this Ukraine situation, and I wanted to really take a look at everything that's going on between the U.S. and the Ukraine, because it's not just the U.S. and the Ukraine. It's really from my perspective, looking at it, studying it. This is a proxy war between Israel through the US to Russia. Now it looks weird to say that because you have Russians, the Russian government has what they call the Russian oligarchs. A lot of those Russian oligarchs are indeed hats. So the question is, well, why would, and what you have to revert back to is you have to go back to the Russian Revolution. Hold on, let me see, add this here. You have to go back to the Russian Revolution, and you have to go to the history of the Russian Revolution and understand what you're looking at when you look at the Russian Revolution, right? So I'm trying to see which article do I want to start off with. And hold up. I don't think I have that article up. Wait. But the initial discussion, which they don't want to talk about, is the discussion about, remember, Mr. Putin said that the Ukraine has bioweapons labs, right? That was it. That was the initial discussion, and everyone poo-pooed that and like there are no bioweapons labs. This is, what's the word we always hear? Conspiracy theory, right? Fine. I have no dog in this fight. This is a case study. So he says that people say no, they don't. Now, as I look here, I'm like, okay, somebody is, either there are weapons. I mean, either there are labs there or they're not. The New York Times came out and said that, and I thought I had it up. I got so many things open here. Oh, okay. Here we go. My bad. Here we go. Because it says theory about U.S. funded bioweapons labs in Ukraine is unfounded. Remember that word, right? And we're just going to read the first couple of paragraphs. It says, now this is from, this from a couple of months ago. Says prominent social media users and conservative voices have amplified a baseless theory promoted by Russian state media, accusing the United States of funding biological weapons laboratories in the Ukraine. There is no evidence to support the claims, which President Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine, the White House, the Pentagon, and the State Department have all unequivocally denied. Right? So everyone has denied this. Let's go to the next paragraph. There are biological laboratories inside Ukraine, and since 2005, the United States has provided backing to a number of institutions to prevent the production of biological weapons. Stop right there. What did we just see? Good evening to Unique One Express. So you got them. So within like 2 seconds, the first thing they said is there are no biological weapons in the Ukraine. The next sentence is there are biological laboratories inside of Ukraine, but they're for stopping biological weapons. I'm just going to give everybody a minute to process that. Y'all tell me, does that make sense? Does that sound reasonable, or does that sound kind of like, fib? And brother, you got ripped off says like the Hunter Biden laptop. Right. The Hunter Biden laptop did not exist. Now the Hunter Biden laptop does exist. Now you see me, BB-48 Island. Now you don't. And the reason I wanted to show that, because I wanted to show the duplicity and the double speak. Is that the word from the book 1984? Is that the word? Somebody help me out. I think it was double speak, where you say one thing and then you say another, and then you write the history, and then you change the history. We're literally living in 1984, where they say, hey, this is baseless. And then the next thing they say is, this is real. Now, I had a video set up, but I do not see it now, where it talks about these bioweapons, and it talks about how these things are set up so that, let's make this a little bigger, by the way, so that the study of them and the usage of them can come from the same research, right? So the way it's done, the scientists can easily say, oh, well, no, we're not doing weapons research, we're doing research. Now, I want to show the next article. And again, we're not going to go through the whole article, because it plays on the same theme, right? Here's the thing. WHO, COVID origins unclear, but lab leak theory needs study. Okay. I have strikes here on my channel because back in September, I streamed a presentation dealing with a book dealing with the origins of C19. And they said that what I said was medical misinformation. That's exactly what they said, right? Because they said that what? The origins, the lab leak thing is a myth, it's fraud, it's fake, it's a lie. And though you can't put stuff up that the World Health Organization says that the World Health Organization has debunked, in essence, right? That's what they told me. Fine. Okay, fine. Those are your rules. This is your platform. 9 months later, right? Here we are. And this article says that this is a possibility. This is from June 9th, 2022, right? Let's just read the beginning. Over 2 years after the coronavirus was first detected in China, and after at least 6.3 million deaths, we're not going to go into how those deaths occur. We're just reading the article. We're not going there. Have been counted, 6.3 million deaths have been counted worldwide from the pandemic. The World Health Organization is recommending in its strongest terms yet that a deeper probe is required into whether a lab accident may be to blame. That stance marks a sharp reversal, right, of the UN Health Agency's initial assessment of the pandemic's origins, and comes after many critics accused the World Health Organization of being too quick to dismiss or underplay a lab leak theory that puts Chinese officials on the defensive. The WHO concluded last year that it was extremely unlikely C19 may have been spilled into humans in the city of Wuhan from a lab. Many scientists suspect the C19 jumped into people from bats, possibly via another animal. Yet, in a report released Thursday, WHO experts group, WHO's expert groups, said key pieces of data to explain how the pandemic began were still missing. The scientists said the group would remain open to any and all scientific evidence that becomes available in the future to allow for comprehensive testing of all reasonable hypotheses, right? Now, let's review. They said initially, there's absolutely no way. The lab leak thing is ridiculous. It makes no sense. This is nonsense. Next thing, here we are. This is a possibility. What usually happens later on when people stop paying attention? They say this is what probably happens. And our historical context for this is what? Where have we seen this before? Everybody remember when Colin Powell sat up there before the United Nations and talked about the weapons of mass destruction that Iraq had? Everyone here is old enough to remember that. And then eventually it was admitted that they did not have them. Now the country had by that time had been destroyed. People, millions of people have been murdered, displaced. Well, I forgot how much, like $1 trillion had been spent. Thousands of American lives have been lost. All of that based on the mistake or the lie, depending on your point of view, that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. So we've seen this before. This is not new. The idea that you could say one thing and then come back later, be before the to 7779311. You can come back later and be like, oh, my bad. I forgot. We were wrong. We made a mistake. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a typical play. But we forget because, they run the plays. We see the stuff. Someone comes out and exposes it and say, hey, man, look at this lie. Look at this fraud. Look at this deception. Look at this trickery. Right? And then people get outraged for a little while. And then the next thing happens. See, as Black people, we think that this play, on what level do we see this? We see it on the local level with the latest police shooting. The police shooting happens. The police blame the victim. The media backs up the police. Then the story comes out, right? Then we find out what really happens. Or the video comes out and we see the man get shot in the back, or shot in the chest with the child in the car, or shot listening to the instructions of the cop. The cop said, hey, get your license. The guy turned around, get the license, get shot, right? Or the man's on the ground and he gets shot. Like we see all this before, and we get outraged, and then we go back and we reset, we go back to where we were, right? But on an international level, the same thing happens. But as Black people, we don't see it. So again, let's go back to the war. One of the generals stated that this was the plan, right? This was the neocon plan. We're gonna get rid of this country and this country and this country and this country and this country. And they go, they named all the countries. I believe it's 7 of them. And then you had, like I said, you had the weapons of mass destruction theory. You blow up the country, right? And then you say, oh, well, we didn't find any weapons, but he was a bad guy anyway, right? And then you run the same play again. Like people were outraged, oh my God, and this and that. The Americans were outraged. And then you run the same play. And where do you run the same play? In Libya, you run the same play. Gaddafi's doing XYZ. Now, there's the thing. There was a lot of stuff over the years you could have said, hey, this guy is doing stuff wrong. But that time, the whole gold dinar, it gold back currency thing was happening, but they told you that he was, I can't even remember the lie, like killing his own people. Killing his own people is always a good one, right? Because from the outside looking in, we just see a country. And it has a name, Libya or Uganda or whatever the country is, or Czechoslovakia or whatever it is, right? And then someone can say the government is killing people there. They're killing their own people, like the Chinese and the Uyghurs. But to those people in that country, those are not their people. So, for example, Russia, China, Iran could all pull up, a mountain of evidence. They could come ask us, and we could tell them, and they could say the United States is killing their own people. But what's really in the back of their mind? What are the people in the United States gonna say? Yeah, those ain't. Yeah, they here, but that ain't our people, right? So that's how this thing works. But it works on an international level the same way it works on a local level. So we think that we're the only ones that fall victim to this, and we're the only ones that forget, and we're the only ones that get played over and over and over. But really, it happens on a higher level, right? So back to this Russia thing. So we've seen this play now with the possibility of the lab leak theory, right? And we've seen why Russia has gone into Ukraine. Now, a lot of Black people have been like, why does Biden keep backing the Ukraine? Why does he keep sending money over there? I'm going to play a clip of Mr. Biden telling you who his allegiance is to, so you can understand. And this is an old clip. This ain't new. This is an old clip. This is from about 12 years ago. So you can understand who his allegiance to, and then it becomes clearer everything that's taking place. All right. So let's load this one up.
While Senator Joe Biden has only just been chosen as the Democratic vice presidential nominee, Shalom TV met the senator and discussed his views on issues important to the Jewish nation.
Following months of speculation, Democratic presidential nominee Barack Obama has selected Delaware Senator Joe Biden as his running mate. As the number 2 man on the traditionally Jewish-supported Democratic ticket, many Jews are questioning what the Delaware senator's views on issues important to American Jews are.
There is this inextricable tie between culture, religion, ethnicity that most people don't fully understand. That is unique and how can I say it? So strong with Jews worldwide. There is a. I mean, I used to say early on when I was a kid, I'd say when I was a young senator, I'd say if I were a Jew, I'd be a Zionist. I am a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist.
While some American progressives and liberals.
Y'all caught that, right? I want y'all to understand what he said. He says, if I were a Jew, I would be a Zionist. Then he says, you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist. The president of the United States is supposed to swear an oath to the Constitution of the United States. A Zionist believes in the supremacy of Israel. These two things are incongruent. You can't hold these two concepts in the same place at the same time. So The question has to become for everyone who's thinking, where does the president's loyalty lie? Does it lie with America and the Constitution? Or does it lie with Zionism? What is one of the things that the president said a couple of weeks ago? And I didn't have that article up. He said the Second Amendment is not absolute. I want you to think about that for a moment. The president swears an oath to uphold the Constitution. The First Amendment is freedom of speech. The Second Amendment is guns to maintain freedom of speech. Right? The second thing on the board. First thing is A. You can say what you want without the government coming down on you like a ton of bricks. The second thing they wrote is, well, how are we gonna guarantee that? Oh yeah, these muskets. That's how we're gonna guarantee that. The president, who's supposed to be defending the Constitution, says the Second Amendment is not absolute. He says that, and then the Supreme Court says, here are more gun rights. What we're looking at here is a war between the Zionists in the executive branch and the Anglos, represented by a black man. This is how bizarre this is. That's why it's very important to be clear of who's who and know the sides of this thing, who are battling for control of the country, while on a global scale, the battle between the Zionists and the few countries that want to maintain some type of autonomy goes on a higher scale. Now, understanding the Zionist conflict with Russia, you have to go back to the foundation of the Soviet Union and what it was. The story we've always been told is that a group of people came with an ideology. They overthrew the Russian ruling family and set up a new state government. New form of government, right? If anyone has anything contradictory to that, if you learn anything contradictory to that in school, put it in the chat. What was left out of that narrative is, who were the people and what was their connection to Russia, and who started that ideology? Karl Marx is a small hat. Vladimir Lenin was a small hat. Trotsky was a small hat. The thing we know of as the Russian Revolution and communism is a complete small hat ideology. So when you look at Russia and the Soviet Union and the establishment of the Soviet Union and the overthrow of Russia, what you're looking at historically, there's historical documentation for this. You're looking at the small hat overthrow of a white nation, for lack of a better word. And you see it again. Remember what I talked about earlier about they're killing their own people. You see it in the treatment of the people by people like Stalin. We always talk Stalin killed all these people and people starved and this and this and that. Now they don't even tell you about the people that starved before Stalin and all the things that went on, the people that were shot and things like that. I believe it's either the first or the second episode of Europa that goes into all of that. Right? and the reason you need to see that is because it'll get you, when you see what's going on now, you'll understand. So you had, that was a Zionist takeover of a European country, right? They starved and murdered millions of Russians. And it's presented to us as they killed their own people. Like Libya, like Iraq, like China. But when you look at it, that's not their people. Because the people in charge and the people getting killed aren't the same people. Just like we're not America's people. Right? But now, back to the Zionist and chief. Let's look at who's second in command. Kamala, who we know is more Indian than black, her husband, he's a hat. So the entire executive office is under the hats. But the Supreme Court is loyal to the Anglos. So that's why you have one thing coming out of one end and another thing come out the other end. And if you're looking at the news, you literally see it's like ping pong where some balls get hit one way, you get hit the other way. So you have what they call, so the best way, Malcolm X was very close. He was on it, and that they killed him. He was almost there because he started talking about the liberals and conservatives. The best way to understand liberal and conservative is hat Anglo. So as is the easiest way for you to understand it, right? On a national level. Easiest way for you to comprehend it. And that battle, and we're stuck in the middle, and we don't realize we've been made proxies for the hat. So when things kick off, the Anglo looks at us on the side. That's why you always hear the Anglo talking about black, man, this Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. And they use that as a proxy for black people. But what they're really saying is, without even realizing what they're really saying and complaining about, is Negroes in service of hats. These Negroes are serving hats. They serving hats. They in the way. They in the way. They in the way. That's what they're saying. And it's coming from their subconscious mind, and they don't even really realize what they're saying because they know it's a problem, but they can't quite figure it out because the problem looks like them. So they're looking like, why is this dude destroying the country? Why is this dude doing this? Why is this dude doing that? Because there's one thing to just be incompetent. And if you're incompetent, you're incompetent. I mean, George Bush, you know, what else we got to say? Joe Biden's been in office. He's been in government. He's probably been in government longer than I've been alive, maybe longer. It's very hard to have that much experience and be completely incompetent. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult, right? So if it's not incompetence, then it has to be intentional. So one of the things when you look at the Russian Revolution is the starvation of the people, right? So we're going to look at this next clip where the president informs us of what we need to be prepared for.
With regard to food shortages, yes, we did talk about food shortages. And it's going to be real. The price of these sanctions is not just imposed upon Russia. It's imposed upon an awful lot of countries as well, including European countries and our country as well. And because both Russia and Ukraine have been the breadbasket of Europe in terms of wheat, for example, just to give you one example. But we had a long discussion in the G7 with with both The United States, which has is a significant, the third largest producer of wheat in the world, as well as Canada, which is also a major, major producer. And we both talked about how we could increase and disseminate more rapidly food shortages. In addition to that, we talked about urging all the European countries and everyone else to end trade restrictions on sending limitations on sending food abroad. And so we are in the process of working out with our European friends what it would take to help alleviate the concerns relative to food shortages.
You all heard that, right? It was a Freudian slip. He said how we can disseminate food shortages. Hold up. Wait. What? He didn't say how we can disseminate food to avert shortages. He said how we can disseminate food shortages. Before that, he said the sanctions, they're not just against Russia and the Ukraine, they're also against other European countries and the United States. Wait, hold up. Stop right there. Y'all tell me when I'm tripping. Who or why would you, as president, do something that you know is detrimental to your own country and is going to hurt your own people, right? But you say, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway because I want to stop Russia from what? Any person had basic understanding of military, of warfare, of geopolitics, of a map. Look at Russia, look at Ukraine, and tell me how you think that little country is going to beat that big country without a bunch of other people getting involved. So now, right, that brings us to another article. So we seen, all right, you have the sanctions. Like, yeah, we're going to do sanctions. We're going to do sanctions. So we have the physical war between Russia and Ukraine. Then you have the economic war, which is the sanctions, right? And then what happens with that? Russia may cut off gas to Europe entirely, planning to redirect trade and oil to BRICS countries instead. But who are the BRICS countries? Brazil, Russia, India, and China, with Iran looking to join them shortly. Right? So, quickly, we're just going to look at a little bit of this article. Says Russia may cut off gas to Europe entirely as it seeks to bolster its political leverage amid Ukraine crisis, the head of the International Energy Agency says, adding that Europe needs to prepare now. I wouldn't rule out Russia continuing to find different issues here and there, continuing to find excuses to further reduce gas deliveries to Europe and eventually, maybe even cut it off completely. IEA Executive Director Fatih Birol said in a statement, this is the reason Europe needs contingency plans. It's interesting because it sounds like he's saying that you don't have contingency plans, which is a problem for them. He says a recent reduction in flows may be an attempt to gain political leverage ahead of high demand winter months. However, the IEA did not see a full cutoff as the most likely scenario. The European Union has sanctioned Russian oil and coal and has held off from banning gas imports, due in part to its heavy reliance on supplies from Moscow. So y'all see this, right? Y'all see this. These people are trying to bring to heel a country that they depend on. I mean, this is goofy in a way. We're going to stop Russia from blah, 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 blah. Russia's like, fine. Turn your gas off. Winter's coming. Now what? But I'm showing you this because you're seeing the war on different levels. You see the economic warfare. You see the political warfare. You got with the sanctions and all these things. And then what you're seeing now slowly is you're seeing different countries saying who they're with. So Zelensky is trying to join NATO, as is Finland, right? Which, of course, Russia wanted to avert, is having NATO literally on their doorstep, right? So then Russia makes stronger ties with the BRICS. So when the economic sanctions come against Russia, they just turn around and sell their stuff to China and India, the two most populous countries on earth. And then who's another country? I mean, well, where's another area where they can sell their wares and receive money from for cheap? Africa. So even though Africa has mostly set out this situation, when they've been asked, different countries in Africa have been asked to pick a side by, you know how the US works, by not picking a side, you've picked a side. Right? So now, the president warned us about, he's like, hey, we're going to have food shortages. It's because of this war and this and this and that. This next clip I'm going to show you, some people are going to dispute that. They're not disputing that there's going to be food shortages. That's happening. It's the why that they're disputing.
Is it true that the government is paying farmers to destroy their crops? And the simple answer to that is yes, they are.
I initially heard about the government paying farmers to destroy their crops. I thought it was a load of bullshit. Well, lo and behold, we received our destruction notice the other day. So basically, there was two options on how to destroy the crop. The government could fly on Agent Orange, or we could manually destroy the crop ourselves. But we put too much blood, sweat, and tears in it to let them destroy it, so we decided to manually do it ourselves. Basically, it said if we used a lawnmower to destroy the crop, we could receive an extra $600 an acre. Something about the low carbon footprint or something. So that's what we're doing. Now, they really didn't tell us how many acres to destroy. They just said, get after it and we'll be watching you from satellite. We'll give you a call when you've destroyed enough. So I better get back after it.
Yep.
I just want, again, this is not DC Radical One saying, hey man, people, look, I don't know that guy. Let's say it's a hoax. I mean, that's somebody's farmland there, and he's running through. I don't think you run through your livelihood for the internet, for giggles, for laughs. Those are two different people. And you can find clips of more people saying this. this first started, I think the first time I heard about it was 2020. In fact, Dr. Baruch from eLife actually told us. He's a restaurateur, so he knows, because he has to know about the supply chains and whether or not he's gonna have enough food to run his business and things like that. He was the first one I heard say it. And he said it so casual, it was almost like something you don't pay attention to. Like, oh yeah, they're paying the farmers not to grow crops or destroy their crops. And you just like, wait, what? You like, yeah, that's what's happening. And walked off. So that this is something that we have to get prepared for now. But remember what I told you about with Europa. What was one of the things that happened when the Hats took over? Starve the people. We have gas went up to, I saw it over $5 here. Can't say I remember ever seeing that in my life. Now, I wasn't old enough to see the gas lines. Actually, I don't even think I was in the country when that stuff was happening in America in the 70s, where people were lined up. I think that was just a shortage. I don't even think that was a pricing issue. I think it was just a shortage issue. But I was not old enough. I didn't see that. So what we're seeing, to me, is unprecedented. Food prices continue to go up. I continue to spend the same amount of money and get less stuff. I can afford to lose some weight, so it's not a big deal. I don't have other mouths to feed. You know what I'm saying? Summer's halfway over. The brother says, I'm going to have to rewatch this live stream. This is crazy. Right. And so, and actually, I got another clip. We're going to see that we see people are destroying crops. If you've been in the store in the last couple of years, if your stores are like the stores I go to, you just randomly see certain stuff that's just not there. I remember seeing a farmer destroy potatoes. Just, I remember seeing a clip of that. And then a few months later, I remember going in the store and the entire section of potatoes, the frozen, all that frozen stuff, that was gone. And then you go around the corner to where the produce to get those potatoes. Yeah, might be there, depending on the day you got. You got ripped off, he said I was getting large. I was looking more and more like Bobby Hemmett. Yeah, I appreciate that, brother. Thank you. But yeah. So this is what's coming down the pipe. And the thing about it is, it comes slowly so that people don't panic. The problem is people also don't prepare because you're not paying attention to all the different things that goes on. And the reason that it's important to study the historical precedent is because the historical precedent, allows you to see that this does happen, that or this is possible, right? So let me see. Let's go back to Russia. Russia diverts trade oil to BRICS nations. In its turn, Russia's presence in the BRICS countries is growing. There's been a noticeable increase in exports of Russian oil to China and India. So we talked about that part, right? Now, this is where our people get mad because, let's go back up. Biden sends more weapons to Ukraine as NATO prepares for a long fight. How many people remember when they told us that the fighting will be over soon? This is Reuters. Does this look like the fighting is going to be over soon? No, because it says they're prepared for a long fight. So every time I notice on social media, every time that black people hear about 300 million, 400 million, 800 million, 1 billion, 2 billion, 10 billion being sent over there, we get upset because the people are getting upset the most are like, if they can do that, they can pay us reparations. True. The United States is also $23 trillion in debt. The Federal Reserve raised up their Fed rate 0.75% with another rate hike to come. The reason why the stock market, and weirdly enough, even the crypto market has gone in the toilet, comes from those rate hikes. More interesting on the crypto angle is the fact that I looked at the World Economic Forum's discussion on quantum computing, and they basically said that quantum computers will make all forms of cryptography obsolete in the very near future. Why is that important? Well, if your cryptography is obsolete, your cryptocurrency is obsolete, which means you'll have to come up with a new cryptocurrency, which falls right in line with Klaus Schwab's plan for a universal cryptocurrency. You have a universal cryptocurrency controlled by whom? Well, Klaus Schwab is the one that said it in his Great Reset book. It speaks for itself. But the only way you can get to that point is you have to crash and burn the cryptocurrencies that are popular now. So those two things could be a coincidence. The collapse of the crypto market, and Klaus Schwab's book. All I'm saying is I read the book, I saw what he said, and then I saw the whole thing collapse. Could be a coincidence. I'm just saying it's something to look out for. And even if it's just a coincidence, the reality is the technology is going to make what currently exists obsolete. That's where we're headed. So one thing that studying this stuff shows me is that those people who are in charge, those people who attend those 400 sessions of the World Economic Forum, the Gates, the Yuval Hararis, the who's there all the time? You know, all the presidents, Trudeau, Zelensky, you know, the darlings of the WEF, have the ability to pull the levers to get things to where they want them. They have enough power and influence to do all of those things. Right? That's just, it is what it is. It sounds like conspiracy theory until you study it and you see it. Brother, you got ripped off says cryptocurrency ran by Bill Gates' new cryptocurrency patent under 060606220. Right. Which, if you read the not the Great Reset book, the Truth About COVID book, it goes into that. Speaking of Bill Gates, brother, we're gonna talk about Bill Gates because we're talking about food. We're talking about food shortages. So we might as well talk about Bill Gates and his hand in this whole situation.
Bill Gates, the first thing that comes to our mind is technology. But wait, Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, is now the largest farmland owner in the United States. Bill Gates showed the world how valuable agriculture is with approximately 240,000 acres. Why does Bill Gates invest in farmlands? There may be several reasons why Gates invested so much in farmland, but there are indications that the biggest reason is sustainable agriculture. The Gates family chose farmland as a new investment model because valuable farmland is now much more useful. In this way, they choose a sustainable way to generate profits. They are also aware of the importance of producing more products, resistant to climate changes, and ensuring diversity in agriculture. In short, agriculture is an important issue for the Gates family. They want to support agricultural transformation. What makes farmland investment great? Basic economics would suggest that the dynamic of shrinking farmland supply and increasing demand for food would lead to land values increasing in price. Farmland has shown itself to be an attractive investment candidate in its own right. However, it also has little or no correlation to most major asset classes, such as stock markets, bonds, or gold. Thus, some money managers have identified farmland as a useful portfolio diversification tool. The farmland investment model has attracted the attention of many investors. There are good reasons for this and, of course, advantages for the investors. For example, with the investment you make, you will be providing food to the world, which is now in need of clean food resources. Your investment model does not fluctuate like the stock market. It is stable and robust, so it is not affected by inflation. Earning income from the farmland that feeds the world is invaluable. Sustainably managed farmland will reinforce the land's value over time. Farms with healthy soils, ample water, and efficient infrastructure are worth more, and this will be more true in a future where high-quality farmland is increasingly scarce. Farmland is one of those very safe investments that will only increase in value. It may not be a quick increase, but it will keep going up over time because we need food to live. Important for a rich investor, farmland will almost never go down in value. All this may eventually prove that Gates has been a smart early investor once again. Managed.
All right. Bill Gates is buying farmland. Bill Gates, they're saying, oh, well, it's a smart investment, things like that, right? When Bill Gates was under pressure for his business practices, in I believe the late 90s or early 2000s, what is one of the things that he started pouring money into and putting his Gates Foundation behind? Was vaccines. Bill Gates hired Anthony Fauci for his decades of vaccines initiative in, I believe, 2011. Anthony Fauci. Yeah, that Anthony Fauci. Where is that guy, by the way? So we see now Bill Gates is buying farmland. So let's see what type of food Bill Gates advocates for. Bill Gates, GMO foods, perfectly healthy, could reduce starvation and malnutrition. And of course, as you often see Bill Gates while he's doing his experiments, helping people, their brown faces there. Bill Gates has a message for anti-GMO advocates. I'm disappointed. Then it goes on to say, GMO foods are perfectly healthy, and the technique has the possibility to reduce starvation and malnutrition when it is reviewed in the right way. Gates wrote, I don't stay away from non-GMO foods, but it is disappointing that people view it as better. Gates' view may strike some as controversial. Many people believe genetically modified foods are dangerous. In recent years, companies have submitted more than 35,000 products to the Non-GMO Project, an organization that certifies products that don't contain genetically modified ingredients, and sales of GMO-free products are skyrocketing. Today, they represent roughly $16 billion in yearly sales. Right? So, Gates funds vaccines in 2011, vaccine research in 2011. Then we have a global pandemic, and then you have to have what? Vaccines, right? Now you have situation where the government tells you there are going to be food shortages, but they don't tell you that they've been paying people to destroy the crops. And while they're doing that, Bill Gates is buying up land to produce GMO foods, which we have absolutely no idea what the long-term effects are. I'm just putting the evidence before everyone. I'm not making any conclusions on this. I'm just putting the information out. Brother, you got ripped off says government has farmers destroying crops now with barren land and no income. Gates comes and buys the land, working hand in hand. January 1st, 2022, FDA changes regulations for how foods are labeled. Now you don't know what you're eating. Hold up. My bad, brother. I forgot. Let the people be able to read that, right? That's the first part. We've seen that. And then the second part. Again, historical precedent says when certain people get in charge, they start attacking the food. Because you can resist a lot. You can resist a lot of things. And the thing about America is the hardest country on earth to destroy from the outside. Just strategically, you have two oceans. You have one of the largest militaries. And you have a populace that for years has been extremely patriotic. So no one sits around and says, it's like a boxer. Like if you've seen a boxer, right? And you just see him just destroying and knocking out everybody. And you're like, wow, I don't think I could beat that guy. You can't. But then you see that he's susceptible to a certain thing, and then you try that thing. But that's like the U.S. Just openly going to war against the U.S. Not really a good idea. Right? But if you can get the U.S. to tear itself apart from the inside out, well, there you go. What's the best way to get people divided? We see it with everything as Black people. But amongst them, what's one of the things that's going on now? It just happened. The Roe v. Wade thing. The liberals are up in arms and they're talking about protesting and making violent attacks on certain foundations and things like that. Like, this is what they said. I know people in law enforcement, they like, it's going to be a long, hot summer. Like, I'm like, how long and hot? 2020? Yeah, that. 2020 here in Washington, D.C. basically led to soft martial law. Fences were up. And I'm talking about post the virus. I'm talking about in the wake of the George Floyd situation. Fences were up. Checkpoints were up. And National Guard with M16s were on corners of certain parts of downtown. I worked down there. I'm telling you firsthand what I saw. So, probably on one of my old phones, I got video of some of the stuff. That this law enforcement member of law enforcement said it basically kind of expects that in the wake of this Roe v. Wade decision and some of these other things that have come out of the Supreme Court. Divide and conquer. In the wake of that, you also have, here we go again with the police murders. The brother just shot at 80, 90, 100 times. Hit 60 times. I went in the comments because they showed the video, and what I had initially read from the story and what they showed in the video wasn't matching up at all. So I had to make sure I actually was looking at the right thing. And what's the comment section? People who are obviously European. Oh yeah, well, he shot at the police, so yeah, he deserved it, and this and that. Basically, what are the black people saying? I don't see no gun in his hand. I mean, why you gotta shoot him 100 times? And then the Europeans, oh, well, they found a gun in the car. And of course, as black people, we're like, oh yeah, that proves everything. Because as for the last, I've been aware of police, and just be honest, this is real. I've been aware of police planting evidence of black people for 35 years, at least. This has been proven. I mean, there's been so many scandals. Brother Jimmy says Jalen Walker. Right. Thank you, brother. Like, this is a documented fact. Like, people want to argue it. Police corruption in America. If you want to see how crazy it is, if you a person that doesn't believe you believe the police do the right thing and so forth and so on, Google Ramparts investigation. It's a Los Angeles LAPD case. And just ridiculous corruption. Ridiculous. They made that movie Serpico back. I think they made that movie in the 70s. I don't actually remember what the overall case was called. So that's going way back. Ramparts investigation was the 90s. So we're talking about historically just, and we're just talking about corruption. We're not talking about the brutalization of black people, because we can go back to Rodney King. We can go back to the mosque in Los Angeles that was attacked by the police, where brothers were shot. Of course, everybody in the mosque is unarmed because they don't have weapons. The Nation of Islam mosque, where Malcolm X went and spoke in either 1960, 1961. So that, again, that's 60 years ago, right? We, you don't have to tell black people about that. So police corruption and police murder, black people are always going to have a certain view on it because of our history. Europeans vested in the system have to believe that aspect of the system works, because why? Because their cousin Dave, their cousin Jimmy, their cousin Bob is the police. Right? My cousin wouldn't do that. He's not corrupt. Meanwhile, their cousin is beating the hell out of his wife every night. I mean, he's an alcoholic. And he has relations with prostitutes on duty. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like literally this type of stuff that goes on with the police. But they try to tell us that we're the criminals and the police are upstanding citizens. But it's a way to divide the country. The Roe v. Wade thing. Literally, the decision renders the case back to the states. People act as if there was a unilateral ban on abortion. That's not the ruling. I don't have a how can I put it? I don't have a universal view on abortion. My view is if other groups of people that aren't black want to engage in that, have at it. My view for black people is we've lost about 19 million babies since 1973. There are approximately 50 million black people in America now. That could have been at least 70 million. If there are 50 million black people here and we've lost between 19 and 20 million, that's literally 40% of our population. For a group of people trying to avert genocide, removing 40% of your potential population isn't exactly a good idea. Anybody wants to disagree with that, have at it. So, I wanted to go back. Let me see. I just want to go back to this article real quick. As we've seen Bill Gates, right? I wanted to go back to Russia and the BRICS. And I wanted to check out part of this article. And this is from Natural News. They have some interesting articles. Some things I agree with, some things I don't. Like most things in life. Natural News was known for a video showing the various forms of assault on black people that I found was interesting. But this one says, how America ends. Putin announces new BRICS global reserve currency project to replace the petrodollar. It's from June 24th. And it says, although the biggest news of the week is undoubtedly the U.S. Supreme Court overturning of Roe v. Wade, there's another bombshell that quietly broke 2 days ago. One that will have vastly more profound, devastating consequences on the world than any decision coming from SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States. Russian President Vladimir Putin announced the BRICS nations are going to roll out a new alternative to the U.S. global reserve currency status. According to the Russian president, the member states are also developing reliable alternative mechanisms for international payments. Earlier, the group said it was working on setting up joint payment network to cut reliance on Western financial system. Excuse me. The BRICS countries have been boosting the use of local currencies in mutual trade. Stop right there. For right now. Do y'all understand how major this is? Put it like this. Whenever you see a country or a group of countries try to take charge of their natural resources or change their currency or have currency backed by something real, something always happens to that country or that government. The best book that deals with that is Confessions of an Economic Hitman, books 1 and 2. Mr. Putin, and I'm not sure if this was planned before, which would explain some things, or recently, is joining with that. Let's just look at it. Brazil and South America, China and India, and Iran wants in on the deal, right? To come up with a reserve currency that challenged the US dollar and a payment system that challenges Western financial systems. When you start talking about Western financial systems, y'all tell me in the chat who does that? Who are you attacking when you start talking about going around Western financial systems? I'm gonna let y'all answer that in the chat. And 779311 states, so how long will mass people in the US begin being affected by the food shortage, if I had to guess? Well, that's an excellent question. What I expect to happen is I expect the price of food to go up incrementally. And then I expect individual items to just be in short supply. So, like I was talking about earlier with the potato thing, where you saw that earlier in, I guess, 2020, 2021, where at least I saw it. I'm not sure if everyone saw it everywhere, but I saw it where you go to a store, you look, they don't have so-and-so. No problem. There's another store literally down the street. You go to that store, they don't have it either. Yeah, that's all right. It's another one further down the street. I'll go closer to where those people live. And you go to their store and you don't see it. And then you realize, oh, this is a problem. Oh, that stuff that they told me, that's here. So I would say, because it's weird. What one thing that's happening, and I forgot about this, is some people that study this stuff and do prepping and stuff said you're going to see a glut of certain products first. Stuff that's been sitting around, stuff that's been on ships and things like that, going to be brought in first. And you're going to have a glut of stuff, and prices for certain things are going to go down real quick. And then after that supply is bought up and burnt off or done away with, then you'll see the gradual falling off. So based upon what they said, and I started reading that information a couple of months ago, I suspect early next year, literally like the dead of winter, like February. You January, February, you'll probably start noticing stuff. If that's my best guess. I again, that's an educated guess. So the time to prepare and to get, I would say, definitely you want to, in the next 3 months, have your non-perishables up, your canned foods, your for people that know how to can, so people know how to preserve stuff in jars and stuff. Like I think my grandmother used to do that a long time ago. She's not here anymore, so I never got that skill set from her. Where you get fresh produce and you preserve it in the jars and stuff. Okay, you got ripped off. Says maybe sooner because Target and Sam's have already. Oh, they've already started their discount selling. Okay, well, yeah, you can move that up in 2 or 3 months. I didn't know that, but I knew it was coming. Unique One Express says while watching the news, it was a black woman that was against the overturn of Roe v. Wade and a white woman that was in support of the end of it. Yeah, okay, yeah. Let me get to that. Sis Vanessa says, yes, I learned how to can food from my mother. Oh, okay, cool. Let me get to that real quick to what you said, Unique One Express. Let me put that up. All right, we see that. What you're seeing there, and what I've been seeing on the internet, and it's been so surreal to me. I'm seeing European, and it's related to what you put. European females who are turning against feminism because they see what's coming around the corner with the possible disorder and the breakdown of society. So they're publicly turning against feminism, and black women not having an idea of what's going on, defending feminism. Right. So that's one thing. The second thing with what you saw is that the Europeans understand that they're at zero or negative population growth in most European countries already. So in Europe, they're already there. They already have an older population. When you look at, like, when I started doing the Dr. Chancellor Williams Day lectures, and I started looking at population charts and things like that. Africa has the youngest population, the quickest growing population. Europe has the oldest population, the declining population. I think people intrinsically can begin to feel when that's happening. And so, again, small hats versus Anglos, the Anglos were cheering the overturn of Roe because although we've lost many people, their women also. In fact, not only, and this, God, I can't remember the stat, but I saw a European female on YouTube say that their women that do it, our women that do it, tend to be economically deprived women. Their women that do it tend to be women that are highly educated and have money. So their women that have the means to take care of their children are the ones that are killing their children. And like I said, they're already at negative birth rate. So that's why, that's why they're celebrating. They like, I thought some white woman was like thanking Trump for saving white lives or something. I just saw it on somebody's feed and it went away and I didn't save it. But they understand what's going on. And Sis Fauna says the other day I told someone that they're coming for the swirler snakes because they're trying to save their race. No, they're coming for the rainbow mafia next. Because you can't make no babies with two of the same. Y'all understand I'm trying not to get completely deleted tonight. You know what I'm saying? So y'all understand what I'm saying. So they're coming after the rainbow next. Then they'll come after the loving case. And that'll take care of the swirlers. But all this rainbow stuff, the more it goes to the court, it's going to be backfired. Well, brother Jimmy, what it is that is a hat initiative. I mean, it's not like the Anglos don't hate us, but the propagation of it, the foundation of it is the Anglos. The propagation of it is the hats. But yeah, no, it definitely backfired on them. But what we have to understand is that the hats' goal of depopulation of everybody And this is what makes it so complex, right? I'll just give you an example. Bill Gates has publicly stated, y'all see my lectures, has publicly stated there are too many people. Prince Andrew said there are too many people in Africa. The hats ideology from, as reported in the protocols and other places, says that people are, I didn't play that clip. People are Goyim. So I played the clip with, hold up. Let me see if I can find this. Because if I tell you what the hats think of us, that's one thing. I have a clip. And I'm going to see if I can find that clip. I have a clip that can tell you what the hats think of us. And that will just clarify it for everybody. But yeah, we're still caught in the middle of that hat Anglo thing. And so that Roe v. Wade thing is a protect white life thing, in essence. While, again, showing how we're in the middle of it. And the leader of it is a black man who used to be pro-black. And then, yeah, Clarence Thomas, look up his history. It's the weirdest thing in the world. Like, a lot of his conservatism comes from his former pro-blackness. That's why it's like pro-guns and stuff. Clarence Thomas is one of the most interesting people I've ever seen. I'm not an advocate for him, but he's a weird dude. Like, his evolution of his ideology is just weird to me. But it is what it is. But let me see. I'm gonna see if I can time it. Okay, I got about 20 minutes. I'm gonna see if I can find this hat clip and load it up, because I don't think I've ever put this up. I've only put it up in paid lectures. But I know why people don't understand the hats. And I know for a fact we've been taught that God's chosen people. I know we've been taught that they were with us in the civil rights era and they're our friends. I understand all that. But I don't think I have it on this computer. Oh man. I don't have it on this computer. So I apologize, brothers and sisters. I do not have it on this computer. I thought I loaded it on this computer, but I do not have it on this computer. Yeah. So anyway, there is a clip of a hat saying, and if you've seen my lectures, you've seen it. If you've seen Secret Relationship Between Black Leaders and Small Hats, you've seen it, which is where I first saw it. Whether you can find it on YouTube now, I doubt it very seriously. Sometime in the future, if we have a hat discussion, I'll put it up. But I just want people who aren't aware to to hear these people say how they feel about us personally as Black people. But you got ripped off. Said I say Thomas, you say he needs to go the way of Colin Powell, but they already have his replacement ready, and she's a pedo lover. Yeah, exactly. I mean, have my issues with Clarence Thomas, probably the understatement of the year. I'll choose him over Ketanji any day of the week. And that's another aspect of the fight. And after I deal with that, I'm gonna close that out. I didn't think I had time to get to that, so I didn't load it up. But this whole situation, y'all, and I'm gonna do a video of this, addressing this separate. Oh, you know what? That reminds me too. Since we're here, do y'all prefer, y'all my supporters, do y'all prefer the short form videos or the live streams? Put 1 for the short form videos and 2 for the live streams, because I plan to do more short form videos. Because the time, if I do live streams, the timing is going to be in the morning, and I don't know how many people are going to listen. Like when I say in the morning, I'm talking about like 9 o'clock. So it's 2. Yeah, 2 is for the live stream. So live streams, live streams are winning out of the gate. I give y'all some time for that. So you know what? Let me get back to let me get back to this article real quick. And where's it? Oh, okay. Let me get back to this article real quick. So, okay. Oh, wow. All right, hold on. Let's get back to this article. Says we also know from industry sources that Project Sandman refers to a group of over 100 countries that plan to Wait a minute. I didn't read the article. I'm reading it here. I read it, but I didn't read it. Let's try this again. But this is only the beginning of the bombshell here. We also know from industry sources that Project Sandman refers to a group of over 100 countries that plan to simultaneously denounce the US dollar as a global reserve currency. This will likely take place on a Sunday evening, USA time, says Andy Schechtman. That ain't a hat. I don't know who it is. The CEO of Miles Franklin, a gold and silver dealer. He told me this in an interview recorded yesterday to be aired soon. The new replacement currency will be powered by blockchain and backed by gold, which is why member nations have been rapidly stockpiling, gold supplies in anticipation of the big announcement. When the announcement comes, nations that represent nearly 75% of the world's population will simultaneously denounce the US dollar and roll out a gold-backed blockchain audited international currency system that will instantly become the world's currency choice for free trade and store of value. The dollar, backed by nothing more than money printing, thanks to the Federal Reserve and incompetent political leadership. The Federal Reserve is neither federal nor does it have anything in reserve. Those that don't know, the dollar will collapse towards zero. Virtually overnight, goods and services sold in America will increase by 1,000%, and that's only the beginning. The dollar will continue to lose value by the hour as the world's hoarders of U.S. Treasury debt and dollar currency dump it at any price. Those holding dollars will lose everything. The United States government will quickly collapse in parallel with the collapse of the dollar and the U.S. central bank. Goodness. There will be no money to pay military troops or pay off corrupt government officials. All government salaries and pensions will be effectively halted. The great neocon empire of debt, lies, and death will implode so rapidly that people will be psychically shocked and physically unprepared. Russia, China, and India will emerge as the economic leaders of the world, and the U.S. empire will cease to exist. The former United States of America will be broken into regional nation states divided largely among political lines. All right. I'm processing that. That is worst case doomsday scenario. I actually hadn't read the whole article. So if you want my opinion on the feasibility of this, I didn't know it was that many countries. He said 100 countries. The feasibility of this is high based upon the fact that if you take the countries, like if you take Africa, some countries in Asia and South America, and you put them together under the leadership of China and Russia, you could pull this off. There's no way the hats would allow that unless the hats are the ones pulling it off. So looking at that now, because I hadn't read the article. Why you gotta do your homework, boys and girls. That's a very feasible scenario to collapse America virtually instantaneously. Sister Farnessa says when it does, it will crash the commodities. Says when it does, it will crash the commodities futures market overnight, and the stock market will crash when it opens the next morning. Yeah, brothers and sisters. I'm gonna have to go and do further research into that because I'm sitting here telling you how bad things are, and then I read that article. It's like, oh, you think that's bad, buddy? You haven't seen nothing. Watch this. Since Farnessa says Ukraine, yeah. Oh, I didn't mention that. Yeah, Ukraine president's a hat without question. And he got a special speaking address. He gave a special address at the World Economic Forum. So yeah, he's one of theirs. He's one of Schwab's boys. And you got ripped off says 6 for stream, 0 for shorts. So y'all really don't like. So do y'all not like the shorts at all, or is it you just prefer the streams because they're interactive, where the shorts aren't? The only way I can make the shorts semi-interactive is if I set them to premiere, then people can still come on and y'all can interact. Even if I'm not there, y'all can interact with each other. So if you get the notification, you see the premiere and y'all can interact while the video is going on. But seems like people like the live streams better, probably because that's what I started off doing. It says Farnessa says she preferred interactive live streams. I figured that. So well, when I do the shorts, they'll always be set as premiere. Sometimes I like to do them because I can have this information set up and done in a way that's I think anyway it's a little more coherent. Also, I usually try to set it up so I'm taking less of your time. So I try to, the goal was actually 20 minutes. But when I did the one with the whole world health economic situation, it was just no way. It was no way that I could do that one in under half an hour. So, and it's so weird y'all say that too, because I finally got to the point where I actually kind of enjoy the editing and adding the music and some flourishes and things like that. But it's all cool. You got ripped off says Putin history lesson given by T West on Afro-Synergy News covered Putin as a triple agent working under a hat-funded oligarchs, CIA-funded operatives, and Russian nationalists. Yeah, like I said, I told y'all that what's his name? I told y'all what's his name was interesting. Putin is real interesting. I've been trying to figure him out for years, and I just gave up because I knew because he went to the what they made an exception to their rule and sent him to Schwab's School of Leadership, right? But he's old school KGB, but he's always acted as a nationalist. So I ain't gonna lie, I found him confusing. But his actions always appear to me to be that of a nationalist, despite his obvious backing by hats and his obvious his obvious backing by hats of different, different institutions. But there's one thing, and I never read the book. Brother Jeannie sent me the book, but there are different schools of thought amongst hats. So they're not 100% unified like we think. And that causes even more confusion, because it's kind of hard to tell when they're taking both sides of the argument and when there's actually disagreement amongst them. It makes it difficult, at least for me. And I sit around and study this stuff. Because what I realize is, this is the God's honest truth. Sometimes I sit around and I'm like, why is nobody talking about this? Why is nobody talking about that? Why are people only talking about this? Why is this always on YouTube or Instagram or the TV or the this, the that, the other? You know what I realized? Y'all gonna laugh at me when I say it. I was just sitting there one day and a voice came to me and said, they're not talking about it because it's your job. That's why they're not talking about it. Because it's your job. It's not their job to talk about it. They weren't inspired to study it. They weren't given the assignment. You're given the assignment, so it's your job to talk about it. And here we are. So that's what I've accepted. It's my job. I took on the work kind of accidentally. I mean, y'all have Sister Cindy to thank for me even doing YouTube. I had no intention of doing YouTube. I thought about it and dismissed it. Brother, you got ripped off. Say that's the voice of Dr. Khaled. It might be. Yeah. I'm glad you said that too, brother, because I gotta get that Dr. Khaled edited so I can get that to you all. I finally got the Dr. Welsing lecture. Cindy finally got that back to me. So that should be available for Black August. And brother, you got ripped off said, yeah, she got you working on a book. Yeah, man, she'll motivate you. You be around her. You can't have no lingering ideas because she gonna force you to do them. So as it's interesting as fireworks go off outside my window, America gets ready to celebrate its birthday while possibly being on its deathbed at the same time. And most people, Rick Ross said, you don't even know it, But again, thank you, brothers and sisters, for joining me. I thought that this was really pertinent information. There were some things that I left out intentionally that I had meant to go over. There were other things that I just didn't have loaded up on this computer. And even though I had loaded up, I don't know there was a couple of other clips I had loaded up from my other computer, and not sure what happened with that. But it is what it is. Also, hold up, before I go, let me go back. Let me run this paid advertisement again before we go. Tomorrow, of course, is the official release of this book. And we're going to watch the advertisement again, and then I'll come back and close out. So, again, here's our paid advertisement from our sponsor. All right, brothers and sisters, don't forget tomorrow. Oh, brother, you got ripped off. Says tomorrow's also the anniversary to Tuskegee Institute opening in Alabama, 1881. I didn't know that. So, hold on, brother, you got ripped off. You put up a couple of things. Let me say, says don't forget the blackout boycott tomorrow, everyone, and we're doing absolutely nothing in support of black suffrage. And so, and again, tomorrow, don't forget to, and brother, if you can put the link up again for Kamathi Lives, don't forget to listen to Kamathi Lives 12 hours from now on Sankofa Revolutionary Radio. And then tomorrow at 6, if you're in the local area at the headquarters, will be the release of the book. You know who the problem is. I ain't got to tell you. So with that, brothers and sisters, hey, yeah, brother. Yeah, that's a good comparison. Yeah, that's a good comparison. So with that, brothers and sisters, I thank you all for listening. I thank you all for subscribing. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Again, we're on a mission. The goal is to get 1,000 subscribers or get deleted trying. With that, I say a BB for ODA and straight black pride.